You better believe it is dinner time, and I'm hungry for more LCO action as well as dinner. So if you have a suggestion for what I should eat for dinner, please at MacMate_ on Twitter. Let me know what's good, and I'll probably get it. But also, our second match coming up, we've got Gravitas and Pentanet, which is going to be pogging out of its mind, as Jordan just said to me in the break.
That is the terminology that I use in my regular day-to-day conversations, Mac. So you are just completely on point. I am pogging out of my mind at the thought of this matchup.
Certainly is going to be a good one, isn't it? And look, we got to go to Pentanet, and I know Rusty's excited because there's some rumblings around the area, and we've heard that there could be a little crying mummy getting picked in the server, which would mean that there is a tattoo being imprinted on your body, Rusty. What do you have to say about that one?
I mean, I don't know where you heard that. It might have just been on the wind from distant shores, but I think that's a bit of a pipe dream, you know, Mac. While it is possible, I would be shocked, and I hope to never see that champion because it's trash.
Ooh, well, it must depend on who's playing it, so maybe go back to support mate, and we'll have Parbu to say Amumu is a good champ because the man can make something terrible look excellent. Let's have a quick chat about Pentanet in particular, not just the man Parbu. And look, speaking of, I reckon Chaz is going to have something to say about what Shock mentioned in the interview earlier, being the best mid lane in OS. So we'll see how that goes. Of course, Praetor's there in the bot lane with Decoy, the dream team down there, and BioPanther doing a very good job at top. So, Jordan, thoughts on this lineup and who we're going to be expecting to have a big game today?
I mean, what really needs to be said about Pentanet at this point that they haven't already said themselves? I feel like they can do the talking, whether it's on Twitter or in the server. We don't really need to say too much. Everyone knows Pentanet's the best team in the region. Everyone knows that in their individual roles, they have some of, if not the best players in the league at the moment. So when you say, who do we expect to step up here? I have to say, I think any one of these 5 players can step up and carry the game for Pentanet at the moment. Across this season, we've seen every single one of them have a really solid performance, be that star player in their roster, carry from the front lines. Obviously, you're looking to Praetor as the player that seems to sort of pick up a lot of the frags, get the sort of kill counts bouncing up really high and, you know, doing all that crazy stuff. But overall, I just feel like every single one of them is able to have their moments. So I don't think you can go ahead and highlight any one of the individuals and say, oh, this guy is the objective carry for this roster or what have you. It's just across the board, the best team in the region, and nothing more really needs to be said.
Yeah, everyone can really put their hand up when it's necessary. And let's look at the other side of the rift for today. It is going to be Gravitas. And we've enjoyed what we've seen from this team. But again, they've had a couple of rough games this week, last week, and it just hasn't been going well for them so far, Rusty.
Yeah, they've got pieces of the puzzle, but they haven't got the whole thing together yet. You know, for example, Kyosei, maybe one of the best Aries in Oceania. I would imagine top 2 with Chungi at this stage. But the coaches have put the foot down, said no more Ari, so he's going to have to relearn a couple of things in that lane. Odd highlight timing to show up there as that's an Ari on your screen. But for Gravitas, they've got some steps in place. You know, there's a lot of positives that we've been able to take away at moments in games, but because they can't get it done and get across the line, they're losing to teams that are above them on the ladder very consistently at this stage. And even a game to Mammoth, who are tied with them at 1 and 5. So need to really find their consistency.
Well, look, we've got 3 clowns here on the desk, and we need a 4th to make it a happy 4-clown situation. And that's Nat. Nat, clown, how you doing?
Oh yeah, good. A bit of a change from saying you love having me on it. Now I'm a clown.
Yeah,
well, we're all clowns, so we're all in this together, apparently.
We're here to entertain.
That's
that's the core job of us for. Speaking of entertainment, you've got a 5th and a 6th person to maybe drag in, so who are they?
I do. I have Azus and Pabu joining me for the pre-game. Oh, how are you both? It's so good to see you.
Good,
how are you guys feeling? Azus, we'll start with you. How is it down at Gravitas?
Good. Sorry, what'd you say?
How is it down at Gravitas?
It's pretty good. Today we're feeling a lot better than yesterday. I think we've got a different way of drafting today compared to the past few games. So we're gonna try to implement that. But yeah, we're feeling a lot better today. Yeah.
awesome. And how are you guys feeling with the communication and, you know, developing more as a competitive league team?
Yeah, so basically, our roster is, we're all newbies, we're all fresh. So communication has been getting better. I've been definitely a lot more vocal on the team, talking a lot more. I've been trying to be a shot caller on the team and just trying to be more affirmative and confident with my calls. Whether the calls work or not, I'm just trying to vocalize a lot more. But I think overall, the communication is getting good. The only issue is that we're just missing some fundamentals in our games, and we're doing some correct things, but some things we messed up on a lot of things, so we just gotta work on those things. Yeah.
I mean, only week 3, and it feels like you guys have learnt so much already. Fingers crossed you can implement a little bit more of it in today's game. But Pabu, how are you guys feeling? Undefeated over there at Pentanet. How was that win for you individually, and then obviously the team as well yesterday?
Pretty good, pretty good. It's definitely a nice feeling to finally be, you know, like, we have the reins of the split, like we're ahead of the pack, but it's still, you know, we're almost halfway through the split. It's still like a long road to go. The dream would to be go undefeated, so like it's still another like huge goal for us. But it's definitely a good stepping stone for the rest of the split.
Definitely. I do have to ask then, you know, we've seen a little bit, well, I'm very invested in this. I've seen a little bit of it on Twitter, but you're going for the undefeated. Does that mean no Amumu pick for today?
Yeah, basically, like, we probably won't go for the Amumu. It'd be a little disrespectful. Like, everyone in the league can still take games off of us, even if we're playing, like, I don't know. If we pick suboptimal champs, it really does, like, put us in a spot that's hard to play the game, so there's no reason to go too easy on anyone. Everyone can still take the game.
Of course, and, you know, that's fair enough. You've got to know that at any point the tables can shift. But I wish the best of luck to both of you guys. Thank you for joining me, and I can't wait to see how this one plays out.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Well, there you go. So, Rusty, I think you are very excited to hear that one. Hands into the air like he certainly cares about the
getting a tattoo of a Amumu on my body, yes.
We're never getting Pabu back on the show.
Oh,
Thank you, Pabu.
I'm joking.
Do him like that? You're going to do him like that? Well, let's see how we've done these teams and what predictions we've gone for today. Let's bring those up. And I had a little peek earlier. Everyone today has gone for Pentanet. No one's willing to risk it from the talent on Gravitas. So, looks like Rusty is going to... Oh, wait, is Jubes in the lead? Or
He
are
would
you
be.
Jubes is in the lead, yeah.
Jubes, I don't
like
actually
2?
know.
2?
Yeah.
No, Jubes got all 4 right yesterday. And
yeah, but
he was
Rusty
in the
only
lead.
got 1 wrong.
Yeah, but Jubes got all 4 right.
No,
And they were
Jubes
tied
is
at one
leading
point.
by 1. I just had that confirmed by production.
you
So he's
go.
on 21. He's also gone for Pentanet. So we're going to be looking the same, but Rusty coming in at a red-hot second. Does anyone want to explain their reasoning behind this, or are we all just on the same page?
I mean, I picked Pentanet assuming there was going to be an Amumu pick, and now I don't know if, I don't
you
know
wanna
if
switch?
it's worth it.
I just
you wanna
picked
switch?
Pentanet to be different to all of you, but I don't know what's going on. You guys decided to copy my homework or something?
Oh, I know. I would like to say I put in my predictions first today. There is definitely copying coming from someone else.
I do appreciate that you put your predictions in first, by the way, Nat, because you're always so kind as to show us the matchups, because some of us are a little bit too lazy to go and look them up ourselves. So it's good to have the mum in the Discord telling us exactly what we should be predicting and also what we can predict.
Exactly.
Well,
I'm going to give you both options, just in case you don't want to copy the homework for today.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. So, Nat, we're going to be sending you back down to the sidelines. I'm sure it's going to be entertaining down there, even though it doesn't sound like there's going to be a Amumu in the server, but we could
I'll
be
enjoy
surprised.
myself either way.
There you go. Well, we'll see you after the game, Nat, and that means we're one step closer to Champ Select again. So let's see if Rusty is going to be getting the tattoo or not, or if he's not.
He's not. There's no way. I said this before the show started, Mac, but we are in Champ Select, obviously, so I'm just going to do the toss myself. There's no way that a team that is undefeated and yesterday took out the other undefeated team to have a 1-game lead, picks Amumu and jeopardizes that to perhaps put themselves basically tied in the standings again. That would be silly.
I feel like you're just trying to justify this to everyone.
Yes.
Or maybe even to yourself. You're just trying to convince yourself that there is no way that they would actually pick a Mumu. I feel like there's like this 1% chance. You're sort of thinking like, ooh, I'm still a little bit scared. Either way,
it's higher
look.
than 0 and I hate it.
Yeah, let's jump in and have a bit of a chat about these bans now. I think people at home probably seeing that Fiddlesticks ban, or if you haven't been watching all of LCO, you're looking at that and going, that's a bit weird. But it is a champion that Gravitas have pulled out, and they had a bit of a niche strategy with the Fiddle and the Nocturne, so that's why that ban has gone through. The rest, fairly standard, nothing really too crazy to comment on there.
Yeah, nothing exceptional. The Karthus is a target ban from Azus while no one else plays it, so you've got 2 targeted bans to the jungler of Gravitas. The Karma being removed is an odd one to me because we've seen some awkward compositions from the side of Gravitas with the Karma in mid lane. Honestly, I hope we don't get any more of these hovers ever again.
Well, he's got 5 seconds to lock it in, Rusty. How's the
We've got
sweat?
the other people in our ear just saying lock it in and addressing the hovers.
Ooh, we were close. We were close.
Trust the process. There's no way we get Namumu.
If we get a Namumu hover every single pick here, that's going to be really troll. We're going to have to
Quite
wait 30
stress-inducing,
seconds every
actually.
time. Oh, it's happening again.
All right.
The joke's gone too far, guys. It was Pentanet that was supposed to pick a Mumu, not Gravitas.
Surely 5 hovers means you're obligated to lock it in anyway.
Yeah, true.
We
Well-
set the standard for them.
We do get the RE. We've all heard your opinions on that one in the past, Rusty, but it is a champion that we've seen Kyosei picking up a couple of times, having some reasonable success with. So I guess we're not too disappointed to see it for Gravitas, if anyone.
There's a jungler for Pentanet.gg locked in, so a sigh of relief will be had by everyone named Rusty. Looking towards the 3rd pick for them here as well. You're expecting most likely an AD carry. You still have the Kai'Sa there, so you're looking at the team of PGG and saying, why would you not just give him his best champion? So it makes sense.
Yeah, it really seems like Pentanet is once again getting pretty much everything that they would want. Hecarim was pretty good for Pabu last time we saw him play it. Praedyth onto the comfort champion of Kai'Sa. We get Decoy over to Seraphine, which again, is a very, very strong champion in the current meta. So to be giving that one away is risky business, in my opinion. Kyosei has gone for the blind Camille, which will be obviously thrown over to Safa.
You would expect top lane bans now from what Gravitas have gone for. Take things away from Biopanther's definitely a wise choice. Camille is good into tanks though, so that might be a bit of a conflicting feeling for them. It may even be a couple of mid-champions from Chaz to make sure Arya has the best time possible. Looking at the side of PGG, however, you want to pick those mid laners, so you're not going to try and ban them away. You've got Kai'Sa. The AD carry role, of course, is the one major point of difference. And because they have a Camille locked in, I would expect to go with that Xayah, maybe a Galio. But, of course, the Ahri is already there. So it really is making the draft easy for PGG overall to just pick what they would like.
Yeah, Xayah taken away by Pentanet. We'll wait and see what the next couple of bans are as well. I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with your train of thought that a couple of bans in the direction of Chaz would have been a bad idea, because if I look at the Gravitas team and I think what have been the good points of this roster, I've always been impressed by Kyosei, so I almost feel like it would have been nice to see him really get off to a good start and maybe feel a bit more comfortable in lane against Chaz, courtesy of a couple of bans, but obviously not the case this time. And I suppose for Kyosei, maybe that's just him saying, well, I feel comfortable against whatever on Ahri. Doesn't matter what they pick.
He is the Ahri god. That's what his stream title says, so I'm allowed to say that. So I wouldn't be too surprised, like you mentioned, for him to just be comfortable in mid. But the point, I guess, that really led into that opinion was that, Sion is a matchup that Camille outscales. So it is jarring to me to see that banned, especially when Biopanther's got his best champion still available in that Ornn.
Yep, definitely likes the Ornn. We've got the Shaco hover from Decoy as well, so I wonder if he was listening to yesterday's broadcast. Doesn't decide to lock it in either. Got me sweating for half a second there, but I feel like a Shaco support is even less likely than an Amumu coming out, to be honest. So I do feel quite safe in that one.
Waiting for a jungle champion here for Azus. There's been a couple of unconventional hovers, starting with the Ivern. You can see your opponent in their Hecarim already. The Lilia, like we mentioned, isn't the most comfortable matchup. That's a Nunu.
I like it. You know, got to go fast. That's literally what this team comp screams to me for Gravitas. I'm pressing the Sivir R. I'm following up that Nunu. I've got a Rakan there that wants to dive in deep. We're just going to run at you and hope for the best.
Nunu, though. I mean, that is an unconventional choice. Nunu has very good ganks. He has safe clears, right? He's always going to be healthy. He's going to be slower than a Hecarim, though, you would have to imagine, unless he does a single camp clear and looks for invades. That's one thing that Nunu has and always will have, as long as his Q button is a consume that does more true damage than smite to camps. So if they are looking to invade, Nunu's going to be the man to do it, though I would say the rest of the comp, besides bot lane, is not too equipped to assist in that. Very curious to see how this Nunu performs, how Azus performs on it, because if those ganks work, what we've seen in the past, Elfish Guy, is that it just continues to go to the same lane. Nunu gets magnetized to one lane, stays there, ganks it 15 times, makes your life miserable, and is still a relevant champion and makes you not one.
What's your thoughts then on a team like Gravitas maybe going for a little bit of an out there kind of pick? It feels like to me that's not a bad strategy. I know it doesn't make sense maybe on paper, but to be fair, if you're playing standard against a team like Pentanet, I think they're just going to beat you, if that makes sense. So maybe you throw a bit of a curveball in there and see what happens.
I mean, 100%, right? Like, we've already seen from Gravitas, we've heard in their coach interviews as well, when it comes to strategic planning against the best teams in the league, they have curveballs that they're willing to throw. If you look at the bans from PGG, they gave you 2 examples, with the Karthus and with the Fiddlesticks being taken away. So they do seem to have this endless choice of crazy picks, but otherwise it's a standard composition besides just the Nunu in the jungle, and I'm certain that Pabu has played against this multiple times, because there is a bunch of Nunus that run around in O solo queue.
It's a fun champion to play, so can't really blame them. Rest of the composition for Gravitas, we'll see how it can maybe activate the Nunu, or whether or not the Nunu can activate the rest of the composition. Very, very big question, I suppose, for Gravitas over the jungle selection. But even the mid laner as well, you know, I guess you put Kiyosei onto the comfort pick and you never know what can happen. Hopefully we get to see some fireworks from Gravitas today, but again, it's a very scary looking composition from Pentanet. They've got pretty much everything they want. I mean, that Seraphine is set up for success. You've got Hecarim, you've got Ornn right in front of you. And just think about the ultis that you're going to be throwing through that team composition from Pentanet with the Seraphine. I think it's going to be a tough one to deal with for Gravitas.
Yeah, they have exceptional engage. They have exceptional range for that engage as well. Their follow-up is fantastic. Their damage is great. When you look at the scaling that they have, Echo does scale quite well, but he becomes more of a side lane threat than just pure team fighting, but of course can team fight. And we have seen some Night Harvester Echoes running around where they hit 2 items, Lichbane, Night Harvester, and they just one-hit carries. And you just, can run around chunking people to half HP by simply existing. And then you'll always have that ultimate to go back to safety. Looking at the things that can stop that Echo from ulting is quite limited on the side of Gravitas as well. You've got the single charm that can be thrown out, a snowball that would be hitting the single person of an Echo, and the Rakan, who's probably the most equipped to stop that Echo and lock him down. So realistically, we're looking at a lot of good things for Pentanet.gg and a lot of difficult to execute things for Gravitas, which is what I would always try to avoid, to be honest, if I was against a better team.
Yeah, it certainly seems like there's a few small sort of key moments that we're going to have to keep an eye on here in these team fights, and I do think Rakan is going to be one of the important factors. There is a little bit of dive potential there with the Camille as well, but just looking at what the engage is going to be looking like, I feel like Nunu, a lot of the time when you do get to the later game team fights, becomes a little bit one-dimensional, a little bit obvious, and you don't often find a great way to get that snowball engage, so you almost need to use that a little bit later on in the fight to sort of follow up. So maybe a lot of the onus is going to be on Kiyosei hitting a couple of nice charms, or Azaya getting in there and knocking a couple of players up, getting his ult across a few, and that'll set things up for the Gravitas roster.
I think that the best way that they would have to win this game would be to get Sappher ahead, because they can play towards that lane quite easily.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, what I was hoping to see was perhaps a teleport for Kyosei, because then what they could do is put the Ahri in the Camille lane, you know, lane gank. You've got 3 dashes and a flash. You'll cover the distance to get to an Ornn no matter where he is. You can threaten that in a 2v1, and then you can also help with objectives by teleporting back down. But because he's gone for the Ignite, a little bit more priority in lane, something that, again, I'm not an Ahri aficionado. I don't know exactly all of the numbers, but I would imagine because Ahri's trading is a little bit weaker than most mid lane champions, Ignite helps to counteract that and give you more lane presence and kill threat level 1 through 3 or 2 through 3, where a champion like Echo could be punishing you, getting prio and getting free resets.
Indeed. Well, maybe we should go straight to the horse's mouth because we do have Poltron available for an interview here, so we get to get a bit of insight as to maybe what Gravitas is going to be feeling. Good to chat with you today, Poltron. And a tough matchup for you guys today, I suppose, against Pentanet. What's the general feeling within the camp at the moment going into this game?
I would say it's been a rough week leading up to this game. We did lose against Divals yesterday, and that did have a pretty big effect on some of the plays. You know, we were down about it, but Divals showed up. We didn't on the day, so props to them. In terms of today's game, although Pentanet do have an easier draft on paper, all of my plays in Gravitas, they're all on, you know, their top 2 comfort picks. And we're all very happy. We're all, you know, ready to win. And I think if there's going to be a major upset this week, this will be the game to watch.
All right. Well, hopefully we're going to get something exciting like that, although maybe not for my prediction, sorry to say. I do want to touch on the draft a little bit. I'm sure you heard us discussing what we thought the intricacies of it might be, but how do you see the team fights actually working out for you guys later on in the game? Obviously, you've got the Nunu as well, so that's maybe something to touch on as well.
Yep. I do see a very messy game. Hopefully we can snowball with the Nunu, you know, get some early kills, get some leads. We can, you know, win through the 1-3-1, split push, potential 1-4, even in team fights. I do think, although Pentanet have a better 5-on-5 team fight composition, if we're ahead early on Gravitas, we're just going to roll over them. Doesn't really matter how, you know, the fights turn out, but hopefully, you know, it all goes well, and hope to see my boys carry.
So I guess based on that response, then the early game is probably going to be the most important factor for you guys here. Getting ahead early, if that doesn't happen, could end up being quite a difficult game.
Yeah, for sure. Early game of this game is a huge determining factor for, you know, us taking the win.
Awesome. Well, I think you've given us a fair bit to digest and think about as we jump back into the game. Thanks very much for your time, Poltron. Appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you. Have a good night.
Cheers, you too. All right, Rusty. Early game important for Gravitas. So far, not a whole lot going on. What have you got to update me on?
Yeah, I mean, basically the Nunu path from top to bot side looked for a gank, but was seen on a ward. We're going to have to hold that, I think, as bot's fighting.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's going to be a great time for Gravitas. Piglet forced to use the heal. Parbu around as well, and oh, the flash just keeps Piglet alive. Parbu will walk out of tower range and survive as well, but some fairly worrisome signs down in the bot lane there for Gravitas.
Yeah, this bot lane trade that we saw at level 1 was very much advantageous for Pentanet. They've won hard. They got the push in as well, and the one thing that Gravitas were looking at was maybe a Nunu gank at 3, but like mentioned, it was spotted. Parbu able to continue farming with that extra vision, got the level lead, and you can see how he's now able to influence that bottom lane, getting the flash under the turret as they won that trade. Overall, if it's meant to be a really positive and winning early game for Gravitas, we're not seeing too much of it yet. Some good trades top though.
Yeah, here comes the snowball top as well. BioPanther this time, the one forced to utilize his F button. Although I think he's got it on D. But either way, we'll hold that argument. Not too bad of a gank from Azus. Doesn't need to do too much to force some respect out from the top laner.
Yeah, it's still a big wave that's crashing though. So with the teleport usable by BioPanther, as long as he doesn't die to a return Nunu, he'll be fine. We look Nunu mid.
Yeah, I think we're going to be getting a lot of this today. The snowball into mid lane at this time. And Chaz, well, he won't have the ultimate available just yet, nor will Kyosei, which will make chasing this kill a little difficult. And the reinforcements have arrived. The cavalry is here. And the name is Parbu. It forces Gravitas back away under the tower. No harm done on either side there.
Yeah, the trade is actually evened out, but Kiyose does have 2 extra potions that he was able to activate. So uses one of them, will probably consider staying if Chaz does. Chaz with no teleport means that he's not going to be able to get a free reset off an advantage in that situation. So it was good of Pabu to be there. It was good of Decoy to be there to help equalize that lane state. But at the end of the day, Kiyose getting those extra resets off completely free here against a teleport user is positive for the mid lane of Gravitas. And Nunu already being very active on the top side of the map, trying to get those solo laners into a good position because, frankly, bottom lane is not.
Pentanet are being quite aggressive with their warding in this game as well, though. You can see they've got deep wards already into Asus's blue side jungle, which is kind of what you need to be doing against Nunu. You can't have the wards in the bush right next to you because by the time you do spot the Nunu out, it's going to be a bit too late. So it's good that they've got those deep wards, and that should be helping them out to just make sure they don't fall prey to any snowballs.
I think that's a great point, but it's actually the same thing as a Hecarim. Is looking at top lane, Pabu has the opportunity to go in here.
He does, but he decides not to.
I think doesn't want to influence that lane state at all and doesn't want to reveal himself, I think most importantly. You know, Biopanther was already winning. Why waste any map control? But it's saying it's not like Gravitas were worried about where he was. They were doing the Drake.
Well, another thing that Nunu's quite good for is early Drakes. Is consumed, so Gravitas will be happy to pick that one up. We'll see how that, or not that's going to force some trends later on in the game. Safa has spotted Pabu out. Opts actually for the ulti and gets blasted over the wall. Pabu might be in a bit of trouble here. Now, Biopanther does start to walk across, but Safa even investing the flash. Feels like he can make this happen. Kiyose walking up, has used the ultimate, but not going to get there in time. So is this an overcommit from Safa? It's taking them a long time to get there, and that's not looking pretty at all. 2 different schools of thought for Gravitas as we move over to the bot lane, where Asus just doesn't quite have the ability to turn around that snowball.
Man's driving a truck, turning circle a little bit too wide to navigate that one successfully. So not going to be able to find Praedyth hiding behind the corner. And top lane, you said on 2 different pages, 100%. But Nunu back in bottom. Yeah,
here he comes again. Forces the flash out of Praedyth. It was Isaiah getting the W through on Rakan that might have been...
You reckon he does it again?
The big threat. You know, I actually think that is a legit strat on Nunu. You just keep coming back over and over. Every like 15 seconds. And that lane just starts to really hate their life.
And we'll see this trade again in top lane. And ultimately, Safa flashing in front of Biopanther's face means that he's not going to be able to flash to hit the Q2, which is the execute that he was realistically looking for. Kiyose coming up here, I believe, ulted to cover most of the distance to get there.
Yep.
And Safa hook shots way too deep. So he was just going to go down as the Nunu does return.
Yep. The Nunu hath returned. That might be the name of the game for Gravitas here. So that's 2 flashes forced out of the bot lane. Praedyth and Decoy do not have theirs available, and you have to imagine that's where we'll see the Nunu going again. But this time into mid, not too scary for Chaz.
He just walks away. Nunu gets that camp, but is he in trouble to a gank? Pabu could ult.
Yeah, Kiyose doesn't actually have ultimate available here, so Asus might be in a spot of bother. Does use the ultimate to get the shield through and heals himself up with a Q. Will be okay. Forced to
like
flash,
nothing
though.
happened. Off he goes.
Yeah, he'll be back to full HP in a couple of seconds as well. That's the beauty of Nunu. I mean, if nothing else, Rusty, at least having a Nunu in the game does give us something fun to watch.
You never know what you're going to get. Of course, Chaz in trouble, maybe.
Maybe not.
Just a good trade.
Yeah,
the problem with Nunu is that he takes so long. You know, like once he actually starts the snowball, it's about 3 seconds of I'm going to get ya before he actually gets any threat. Here we go.
Oh, big trade going on in the mid lane. Kiyose even having invested Ignite. Now Chaz forced to ulti back, but Isaiah is there. This works out for Gravitas, and here comes a snowball right on top of Seraphine. Might have been better placed on Pabu, but it looks like they'll get that kill anyway at the cost of a trade. Decoy does manage to snake a double buff for himself.
Yeah, Deco does actually get the long-range snipe off there with the Seraphine E, so thankfully for Pentanet, they get something back. look away for 1 second and you'll miss the Nunu go into another lane. Here he goes again.
Here we go again. Biopanther able to dodge the snowball this time. Safa will feel a bit reluctant to engage because Biopanther could well turn this, but a nicely timed ulti does dodge Call of the Forged God, and that'll be enough for Gravitas to find a pick in the top lane as well. I gotta say, this Nunu feels like it's working out.
I mean, it's definitely doing something. It's getting a lot of successful ganks off. It's influenced all 3 lanes, but bot lane still losing, unfortunately, for the side of Gravitas is one major concern that you would have. Top lane, while it gets a kill right, it does get something going the way of Sapphire. It's still into Biopanther, who was ahead. And even in that skirmish, there was a moment where Bio might have misclicked the auto on Azus when he could have potentially autoed the Camille, and I think he would have been a lot closer to a trade than we just saw as well. So still some dicey gameplay.
Well, that's kind of what Gravitas wants, I think. They want a bit of a messy game here. I think they want to bring Pentanet down to their level and try to just force a weird game. Nice charm from Kiyose, and that is going to result in a very good trade. I mean, is it fair to even call that a trade when there wasn't even any damage exchange back onto the Ari?
Yeah, just a one-sided attack there. Kiyose traded mana for it, I suppose, so that's still fair to say trade. Why not? And it's also 2-1, so he's going to get very close to that Everfrost on this next wave that he clears. Could potentially reset if it's a cannon, which I think it is. In a comfortable position overall.
It's not quite a cannon, so next wave, perhaps after this one that just crashed. But we'll have to see. Dark Seal picked up as well for Chaz, so maybe feeling confident in that mid lane. By the way, Dragons respawned. Bit early for the Dragon respawn, but we did get a very early Dragon take initially from Gravitas, so they're going to give it another crack here. But this time, it looks like Pentanet is willing to contest. And the ultimate to start things off from Parbu, followed up. Decoy, nicely done. And that's a kill for Praedyth. Gravitas are going to have to give ground, and they're going to have to give the Dragon.
Yeah, just thank you for starting that Drake for us. We'll happily take that one off your hands. It is going to be another Cloud Soul. That's 2 in a row, I believe, today. So no Infernals just yet. Infernal Dragon, by the way, is the most seen one so far in the LCO. But not today.
Maybe not after this. Yose's looking for something again, but the charm doesn't connect this time. Chaz, swift footwork, dodging it.
He's just going to the scuttle. There's no way he hits a turning circle that hectic to go back to mid. Good control though, you can see how quickly he is able to take that one away, but Parbu is able to perhaps move towards the enemy blue buff right now. He's standing on top of a ward. He's just standing on top of a ward.
He didn't clear it.
Realizes 3 seconds later, he's gone back for it.
Well, I don't know that it's going to be enough to save Piglet here. He is a goner. 4 players down in the bot lane and a Rift Herald. And Pentanet say thank you very much. That's the first turret of the game gone.
Azus is just playing River Nunu at this point. Why even bother doing jungle camps? His whole bot side's available. Parbu will say thank you very much for that. Another Rift Herald charge also on the inner turret bot lane. I mean, Piglet and Azaya just do not have the luxury of existing right now on Summoner's Rift. And I don't think we're going to see a world where Saffron and Azus dive and Ornn. So unfortunately, it does seem like this continues to favor PGG slightly.
Yeah, I think at this point we really need to be seeing Kiyose activate for Gravitas. Has got the Everfrost online, is the strongest member of the roster at the moment, and on a comfort champion. So I think that's the win condition for Gravitas right now, but
Nunu.
Not going to be easy. Nunu's up into the top lane. Biopanther does cop the snowball, but you'll note a teleport coming through from Chaz, so they need to get rid of Biopanther and quick. They do, but how quickly can this turn on its head? Well, the answer, really not very. Safa's going to get out of there with a grapple quite quickly, and all of a sudden, Gravitas have control in the top lane again.
Yeah, and when we say they can't dive the Ornn, they can definitely catch him in the middle of the lane and try and lock him down. Camille Ultimate will ensure that one. Also, Chaz teleports quick to try and assist, but he's not going to be fast enough to actually do anything meaningful besides hold the wave. And we're also in the middle of a reset from Gravitas, where they plant their mid laner to the bot side of the map, and they actually put Piglet and Azaya mid. So they were going to be the first to rotate and have numbers if PGG chose to chase that endeavor any further. At the end of the day, that was actually quite a nice play by Gravitas.
Few lane swaps going on. Piglet stuck under tower. 1v1 against Chaz. That is not going to work out nicely for him. Does force the heal on the Sivir and the ult on the Echo, but no kill.
Yeah, no kill. Still definitely a favorable trade, though, as it gives lane priority. You can push another wave if you're Chaz easy. And PGG, oh, nice charm.
Nicely done from Kyose. Gets the Everfrost down, then the charm. Now the follow-up from Isaiah, but the damage is not quite there. Praedith with a killer instinct keeps himself alive, and now we need to see the follow-up from Gravitas as Safa and Azus do arrive. Pabu tanking up a lot of damage here, but does have the Seraphine standing next to him. We'll be safe, we'll be okay, gets out of there, and it's a 1-for-1 in the end.
Safa and Azus are doing a lot of work now. You know, they've been influencing just BioPanther, just top lane. This time they're able to get themselves into mid and help that trade out. It was a great combo to lock down Praedith for a significant amount of time. 2 charms and knock up, easy as you'd like, but he's got the Gale Force, he had the Summoner spells and the ultimate available. So he survives for so long, it requires those reinforcements. The good news, they were there.
A bit of a reset time for Gravitas here as a few of their players are coming back from base. Yose having finished off a couple more items, has a Dark Seal for himself as well. Looks like Piglet will retain the top lane position alongside Isaiah this time. So the lane swaps are definitely in effect.
Yeah, the thing is, like, with Dragon up in 40 seconds, putting him in top lane would just be sacrificing the Dragon, and Piglet isn't someone that you should be prioritizing getting a bit of extra farm onto when he's the one behind in this game. That would be a better trade to put Camille top lane, give her a 20 CS lead over BioPanther.
Yeah, I mean, Safa has TP anyway, so...
Yeah, exactly. You want to keep the Sivir around?
But again, how does the team fighting look for Gravitas against what Pentanet have been able to draft? I don't think it's going to be easy for them to get a nice team fight here. It's always going to be Pentanet that are on the front foot. Onslaught of Shadows is just such a good playmaking ability in terms of starting the fight, which it doesn't really feel like Gravitas have. So maybe Gravitas has to play a bit more reactionary here, and the reaction this time is going to be just to give up the Dragon. Perhaps trade it for a Rift Herald.
Yeah, they are going to go to the Rift Herald. This will be taken pretty quick by PGG. Actually, a full reset by Bio during the Drake being taken. So it's clear to me they aren't putting any extra emphasis on looking at the Herald. Should just be traded. Looking at who this favors right now, I would say that Herald for Drake trade is good for Gravitas. But the tower going down in bot lane, the fact that we've seen Chaz pretty much unlocked in side lanes is huge for PGG.
Presence around mid. Chaz looking for something a little bit cheeky here as well. Has a control ward down in the bush. Waiting for anyone to overstep. You can see the dive starting to look a little bit more nice for Pentanet now. Chaz deep. Piglet survives, but not for long. Here comes the snowball, but is it too little too late? Well, Azus is going to need to get the ulti down. Was it cancelled? Did he use it? He hasn't. Finally throws it in, but it's not going to make much of a difference at all. And it's so unfortunate for Gravitas, you know, because it looks like they might have chances, but continually getting picked off when the moment is right for Pentanet. And there's just no recourse.
Exactly. I mean, they open up for an opportunity to fight there. They try and turn around what PGG already found. You know, it was a Kai'Sa going a little bit too deep under the turret, you think, with no summoner spells. Perhaps that's an opportunity, and then they overreach in the attempt to do so, because, again, they're against a team fighting comp. It was even mentioned in the coach's interview. That was one thing to be vigilant and afraid of, is the team fighting of PGG. But they play into the hands of Pentanet by taking these types of fights. Piglet does go down very early into this. Kyose hits a really nice Everfrost, but at the same time that he hits that and tries to follow it with a charm, Decoy is able to use that Seraphine ultimate, and then you've got the combo with Ornn, and that's it. They've taken a team fight, they've fallen in the team fight, exactly what Gravitas don't want.
I think Praedith might have just survived there because of a Moonstone Renewer tick. Such a interesting item. Feels good when you're on a Seraphine to have that. Feels like once you get that item, you are just so much stronger. Either way, Gravitas need to think pretty quick smart about what they want to be doing here, because the game is starting to slip away from them. And I think the next couple of minutes, maybe the next 2 to 5 minutes, are going to be critical in terms of what they are going to be able to do later on in the game. Either it's going to be Dunzo or they're still going to be able to contest. They need to find some picks here.
We aren't threatening a 22-minute Cloud Soul or anything just yet, so there is still a bit of time, but Azu's caught.
Yeah, and just gets absolutely deleted. Praedyth has so much damage at the moment. Gale Force invested in there as well, just for the extra damage. And, well, Pentanet, they're not done just yet either. Killer Instinct in from Praedyth, and he steals another kill away. Azaya will survive, but Safa, maybe teleporting to his doom, is going to have to run as fast as he possibly can. And does just get out. But it's a wooden spoon prize, really, at this point for Gravitas.
Yeah, let's call a spade here. I think Bot has been gapped incredibly hard in this particular game. Biopanther is going to take some serious damage here. Safa might have a crack at it, but that would be super dangerous under a turret. And ultimately, that bot gapping has resulted in a lot of the advantages PGG have. You know, Biopanther did get put down. Safa got put ahead. It was honestly decent ganks from the Nunu, and Pabu was getting countered every time he tried to gank. You know, Charms were cancelling dashes, and it was looking okay. But then you look at the bot difference, and I mean, how do you come back in this situation? Praedyth on a team fighting champion is 5-1. He is the best team fighting AD carry right now for sure.
Oh, Chaz is just going to go straight in there on his own, feeling confident. There is no one nearby. Surely he doesn't get away with this, but it seems like he might. Gets the 1v1 kill onto Sapphire in what was actually a 1v3. Piglet tries to come help and dies for it. Well,
How good's Chaz?
I mean, yeah, what are you going to do against that?
You just have to accept reality. You've been outplayed. Chaz is insane. Wrap it up. That's not a gank that you're going to get anytime soon from here on out, because that was a Nash's tooth echo as well, not even a Zonya's making that play happen. Now they look towards the Baron Gravitas. They do have 3 members nearby. Azus with no flash, however, on this Nunu makes this quite hard.
Yeah, makes it nigh impossible, especially after that onslaught of shadows. It's going to send Gravitas scurrying away back to base. No hope of a contest. Pentanet will actually stave off the Baron for a second and look to the Dragon instead.
Yeah, it was a full reset of the Baron, unfortunately. You know, if Baron had stayed aggroed, you could have considered that one for sure. At the end of the day, it will just be a free Drake. They know that the full reset was there for Gravitas. In fact, they're spotted on a ward and Decoy recalling with half health. This does buy some space for Gravitas to respond, not so much to come to the Drake itself, but you can see Azaya now starting to inch his way forwards. Could probably be working with a Zeus instead of doing the Krugs together with an Ari to try and get some good vision down. But, I mean, he's not doing it. He's just Nunuing around the rift.
Sometimes Nunuing around the rift is the best thing you can do as Nunu. Sort of feels like there isn't that many options for him anymore. He's building tanky, but he's still getting blown up. So, not a fun place to be for Gravitas at the moment. And they're really just at the mercy of what Pentanet decides they want to do. Safa might be the only one that can actually take a contest against any of the Pentanet players, but certainly not in a 2v1. And the chances of him getting out of this one, slim to none, because Chaz has decided to teleport down there as well. At this point, it really does just feel like cyberbullying. Safa has dodged the onslaught of shadows, but he's under tower, and he tried his best. I'll give him some credit. He lasted a while. It's not going to help too much, though. Praedyth goes in for the one-on-one against Kyose and nearly blows him up. But Baron is the target for Gravitas.
That's not the play, Chief. They're going to try and disengage as fast as possible. Azaya even stays around. A little bit close for comfort, but Praedyth no ult. Biopanther no ult. There's no way they're going to be able to follow them if they disengage. I mean, cute attempt, right? Just not enough damage to realistically be able to lock that one down in time if PGG get even a sniff of it being done.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that Kyose was chunked down to 10% HP and wouldn't have even been able to help things out had they tried to stay on it. So that'll result in another tower for Pentanet. 6 secured so far. And we're down to just the inhibitor turrets now for Gravitas. Pentanet free to roam every piece of the jungle that Gravitas might have possessed. Certainly not theirs anymore.
Baron is just going to be started. 2 big item spikes for the Ari, actually. Big fan of the itemization choices here. It's going to have Charms out constantly. I think just a little bit too different in terms of strength overall with these teams to really stop this one at all. Baron just freely secured at the moment. You can see Gravitas starting the makings of working their way forward, but way too slow.
Well, Baron secured. It's reset time for Pentanet, so we'll get a minute or so here of a little bit of chill gameplay, bit of time for Gravitas to steel themselves and prepare themselves for what is yet to come. They'll try and push the waves out as much as possible to give them some more time. Safa might grab himself the bot side turret. That is the first turret for Gravitas this game, but is it going to cost his life? Pabu certainly hopes so. Has the red trinket online and has spotted Safa out as well. The smite connects. That's going to slow Safa down long enough for Pabu to get on top of him, although he does force a couple of pieces of utility to come through from Praedyth there after missing the W, but doesn't really matter too much. Safa gets out.
Yeah. It's funny because, like, I don't know if Pabu ever had enough damage to lock down a Camille and keep him there, and because Safa has flash, it means he can get away from Praedyth. So does survive, but that means nothing in the scope of things now, right? Chaz seemingly able to handle him in a one-on-one. Hold that.
Oh, Gravitas are going to try and force the issue. They've caught Praedyth. He's so low. He's dead. Gravitas, can they win this fight? Well, Kyosei, Zonya's not going to keep you alive, and Piglet also looking a bit worse for wear. So it was a moment of excitement, but I feel like at the moment, it's really just a gold dip.
Yeah, it is. They got the pick, and it was onto a carry. Onto a very crucial carry at that, the Kai'Sa. But there's just too much damage from Pabu, from somehow Decoy and Biopanther as well, right? Just by the differences in team strength right now. Nunu's going to try and home guard his way in to prevent them from pushing, but they see it come, they disengage. The only person who needs to be careful is Chaz.
Does have ulti available though, and also has a stopwatch, so he'll be feeling pretty safe. Gravitas lose their first inhibitor of the game. Pentanet, I feel like this is a bit more of a methodical game from them, you know? It hasn't been that 19-minute, 20, 25-minute finish. They're slowly going about what they need to do to finish this game, but it is just starting to get out of hand, or it has already really gotten out of hand, quite frankly, for Gravitas, and it's feeling like more of a foregone conclusion the longer it goes.
Zeus is just playing a mini game where he's trying to hit strikes on minion waves. At this stage, Zeus living his best life on this Nunu. We'll see this again, because Praedyth again, no ultimate, no flash, no gale force. Means that literally everything is down in ways to dodge out on a Nunu snowball. So he does get picked off, but at the same time, as you could see, the damage coming out of the tanky members of Pentanet is just way too high.
Yep, and there's not really an answer for Gravitas. It's going to take Piglet a while to come online and start doing some damage at this point in the game. Gravitas is still alive. They haven't lost their Nexus, so who knows what could happen. Try and clear their top wave now as best they can. Kyosei looking for a cheeky charm. Won't be given the opportunity. Pentanet are happy. Just continue pushing these waves in, wait for the mid-pressure.
Yep. I mean, there's a Cloud Soul available, right? At any moment, if they want to disengage, they could go get a Cloud Soul. But they have a good 1-4 setup with Chaz threatening in mid. They have a Zeus just bowling, and anytime he misses that shot, they can start to be more aggressive on a lane. And you'd expect to see, once the supers crash bottom, and you'll notice that Safa gets very stuck with that, that's when you'll start to see more pressure. It'll most likely happen through Chaz in mid. In fact, he's just coming up because they're going to look to potentially engage.
Well, that tower's going down very quickly indeed. A Demolish stack in there as well. Puts it well below half HP. Again, Pentanet, they're giving the respect to Gravitas at the very least. They're not deciding to overcommit for these turrets. Playing the game quite slowly. But this is how you do ensure a victory. And Piglet might have overstepped a little bit there, but Praedyth not able to punish. Here's Kyosei diving in. Charm doesn't quite connect, so in the end, Decoy will get out alive. Flash was available. Pentanet now really threatening that tower, and once it goes down, that'll be the go signal. Gravitas are looking to defend the inhibitor. They just don't have the ability to do so, and Pentanet are going to be given another freebie. Here comes the snowball, but for all the good it's going to do, Chaz spots it early, walks back away, and Gravitas now 2 inhibitors down.
And it is methodical, right? It is a pressure-based play that we're seeing by PGG, forcing mistakes out of Gravitas by simply chipping away at their structures. You know, they're showing that you don't need the Baron. we don't need the Cloud Soul to win this one. We're going to force your hand, and we're going to beat you when you do that as they pressure the third inhibitor.
Oh, Kyose just able to flash out of the stun, but how much is that realistically going to help? Call the Forge God goes through most of Gravitas, and the Nunu channel, well, it goes all the way, but it barely does enough damage to even matter. Piglet this time was able to survive the fight, but just doesn't have the items to put damage into Pentanet, and they survive again. Praedyth, he's decided to take matters into his own hands. He's a bit bored of this gameplay that Pentanet have been displaying, and that is actually going to result in Decoy's first death of the game. So I dare say he won't be too pleased about it, but it is going to be the victory for Pentanet as they take down those Nexus towers. Slowly but surely, as has been the method to the madness for this game. It's taken 31 minutes, but Pentanet are going to be picking up their victory against Gravitas and marking at the halfway point of the split an undefeated run.
Basically playing to script for PGG so far in this game, and 100% what they were after as they get to the halfway point in the split for themselves, being now 7-0. So while we get the expected result, we see it done methodically, we see it played calmly, we don't see a moo-moo, so I would say overall we've won on 3 fronts here if you're a fan of PGG. Just a really nice commanding victory, you know, and there was, again, some glimmers from Gravitas. You wouldn't expect more than that, though, against the best team in the league. So we compliment them for seeing that, but nothing beyond.
All right, Mac, let's get you back. Are you a fan of Pentanet.gg?
Oh, always a fan of everyone in this league, always putting their hearts on the line. And look, I need to say, at least it was an entertaining game for everyone at home. We did see Gravitas at least keep up through the the early to mid game, but then once they lost a couple of things towards that 15-minute mark, it started to swing back into PGG's favor. And I just want to shout out to PGG again, playing another different style of gameplay, much slower paced, just going and looking for the punishment, and then eventually it was just like a death by 1,000 cuts for Gravitas.
I didn't mind it from Gravitas. It was a fun game to watch.
Yeah.
I think going into that one and expecting to see them get a win against Pentanet was a little bit foolish, if anyone did think that. But, you know, you got to give it a crack. You got to give it your best shot. You got to throw something in there that's going to be entertaining for the viewers and might have the opportunity of throwing Pentanet off a little bit. So I thought it was a decently played game by Gravitas within the expectations. So overall, not disappointed by that. And the same can be said for Pentanet. You know, I think they're the team that has everything to lose in a matchup like this. So to be able to see them get through it so cleanly and comfortably is just another sort of tick in their book, in my opinion.
Can I just ask, how often do you get to see a Nunu in competitive League of Legends? Because this is my first experience.
It depends on the year that we're talking about at the moment.
Okay.
You don't.
Yeah.
There was a time in 2019, I believe it was, where I was coaching a team, and Spooks, for Order at the time, was a Nunu fiend. There was just a week where he just traumatized me through scrims and practice. So he played it on stage. I believe it lost, and that made me very happy. And we barely saw it again after that.
Well, there you go. So, look, at least we got to see a bit of Nunu, and we get to see the winners again as well, who are down on the sideline with Nat T, who we are going to bring back in. So, how'd you enjoy that game, Nat?
Yeah, it was good. It was very different, very interesting, so I can't wait to hear a little bit more from Chaz as to what they were thinking in that game. Congratulations on the win, undefeated now at the halfway mark. How's that feeling?
Feels pretty great. The real challenge was definitely yesterday's match. Today was more of a fun reward. We didn't really do any prep for this. This was just like a relaxing one. So it was good. We had some fun. The comms were a bit crazy, but yeah, it was really good. Felt really fun.
So you say it was a bit of a relaxing game. I guess it felt a lot slower pace, right? Watching it. So can you give me insight as to like why you guys like sort of played it that way? You know, it wasn't just a straight end win. It just, yeah, it felt a little bit slower.
Well, like we definitely have a scaling comp again. That's just kind of what like we ended up playing, I guess. Like we have got our bot lane scales really well into mid game. Our top lane Ornn, it's like one of the best late game champions in the game. And their jungle is just spam ganking like everywhere. He's ganked like 15 times by like level 4. He's just ganking everywhere. So our plan was just play slow, like let them run out of resources. They're sacrificing their jungle camps to gank lanes and they're getting nothing, so we can just chill. and eventually like we're just gonna spike really hard in mid and run away with it. So like it was maybe a bit too slow from what we could have played, and I definitely wanted to play a little bit harder in my lane. But it's whatever. Like we don't play this aggressive style as much. Like we're happy to take it slow and like win through macro decisions mid late game. So I guess we're trying to speed it up a little bit now, and we fumble around a little bit, but that's something we've got to work forward in the future.
It was just really interesting, I guess, to see that sort of different play style, but nevertheless got you guys the win. How did you
Yeah.
feel about the Nunu pick as well? Like the draft, you were coming up against Nunu, but you also ended up picking Echo. So walk me through the draft and why you picked what you did.
Well, we kind of just banned like some pretty weird junglers that he plays because they're annoying. So going into second rotation, like I definitely knew he was gonna pick Nunu. I said, "Do we want to ban Nunu?" And everyone's like, "Nah, it's shit champ." I was like, "All right." Like they picked Ari, just pick me Echo, and they're gonna pick Nunu, and I'm totally fine to like not die to that. Like Nunu's really annoying. I perma-ban that champ. Anyone who plays that champ is bad in my opinion. Like such a shit champion. It's so annoying to verse. Like you just snowball into lane and kill people. I'm surprised Mark Lewis Prayers didn't die 15 times. Like this is supposed to be the only game that he actually was paying any attention to not feed. That guy pulls 15 deaths in scrim games against that champ. But yeah, I don't know. Like we were just pretty sure that the champ was gonna be useless if it didn't get 100 kills. So we were just like, our junglers like just drop wards over and over and over. I'm gonna clear. Like don't die to the gank. Just drop your wards. Like he's here. Don't die. And then like Echo into Ari is a super free matchup. And it's also like a good champ against dodging Nunu ganks. I think he wanted me to play a mage because Nunu is really good against mages. So like I got a counter pick and a good pick against what we thought they would pick being the Nunu. So it was like, it just made sense to lock Echo, even though we don't really play it that much in scrims. It's like my best champion probably. So it just made sense really.
Okay, so Echo, it was a little bit of a comfort pick for you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's by far my best champion. You don't see it very much, but I'm pretty cracked on that champ sometimes.
Amazing. My last question I do have for you though is, now at the end of the first round robin, is there any player out there on any of the teams that, you're either like looking to really like be better than, or someone that's pushing you to be a little bit better as a mid laner?
Just Shock. Shock's like the only player that I really respect. I think he's much better than me in the laning phase, and like playing against him, even though like a lot of their scrims we kind of just win, and like we just are a better team right now. Like he teaches me a lot of things in the laning phase because that's like a really big strength of his. So I enjoy playing against him a lot, and we run like 1v1 practices, which are really valuable for me. Like he's like a super nice guy and really good at the game. So like I'm definitely striving to be better than him. He's like the only person in my eyes that I'm like looking at getting better than, for sure.
Oh, well, thank you so much, and congratulations again on being undefeated.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your night before your game tomorrow.
Thanks a lot. Catch you later.
There you go. So, wise couple of words coming out from Chaz there, and good to see that he really enjoyed playing his comfort pick of Echo. So, any more takeaways from that interview? Good to see Chaz was happy with the W there.
Pentanet good.
I think it was... Yeah, I also think it was so cute how Shock said Pradith, and then Chaz is saying Shock. I feel like they've got like a little love triangle almost going on. Can we make that a narrative of the LCO?
I guess so. I liked that we got to see some exposure, or I guess Pradith got exposed rather, that he feeds in scrims but still managed to play completely perfectly.
Can I tell you
today
something
up
about
against Nunu?
Pradith that
Tell me.
people may not know is that in any game mode that isn't on stage, he is prone to inting his face off.
It's not inting, Rusty. It's called limit testing.
Limit testing.
Tests limits like you would not believe sometimes. I played an ARAM against him once and he went 2-25. I've played Clash against him more than once and he likes to enjoy himself in Clash. I'll say that. But on stage he's a different beast.
Well, there you go. So I hope Pradith is watching and knows how exposed he's been by everyone on the broadcast, and
really
hopefully he'll
built
keep
different.
watching LCO. But for now, you guys hopefully going to be keep watching LCO. It is a third match coming up just after the break, so don't go too far. It's coming in hot.
bit more nice for Pentanet now. Chaz, deep, Piglet survives, but not for long. Here comes the snowball, but is it too little too late? Well, Azus is going to need to get the ulti down. Was it cancelled? Did he use it? He hasn't. Finally throws it in, but it's not going to make much of a difference at all. And it's so unfortunate for Gravitas.
Fighting 80 carry right now for sure.
Oh, Chaz is just going to go straight in there on his own, feeling confident. There is no one nearby. Surely he doesn't get away with this, but it seems like he might. Gets the 1v1 kill onto Sapphire in what was actually a 1v3.